Rob, stay here with me for a second. You know, first of all, I want to thank you for working with my team, with Ian McConnell, with Jerry, with our whole office on these issues over the last 3 years. And you have been a great advocate for a very important issue that is facing this state and our nation. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for not forgetting the community you represent and represented so ably for so many years. You know, this started, if I have my history right, in 1987. I can do math, 25 years. And it started because of something that really hasn't come up and discussed, is discrimination. That's what started and motivated you in much of what you've done in your life. Straight up discrimination. And we sometimes forget why we start the good things we do. The Violence Against Women Act started because women were being beaten and police officers showed up at the door and they turned around when it was a husband and a wife arguing. Now the Violence Against Women Act, we kind of forget that that actually happened 20 years ago. We forget now, and with all that you've done here, that it started because there was straightforward, direct discrimination in the streets of our city as it relates to how they had access to or didn't have access to financial products and services. Thank you for what you've done throughout your career. Bob, thank you for what you've done, and so many others here, including the current members of the board. The problem is a serious problem on foreclosure and the crisis that we face still today as a nation. Good news is the housing market's picking up, and as I've talked to all folks up and down this state, with over nearly 20 workshops we've done, people lining up outside of the Milford Senior Center when we have a workshop, hours early, or at the Chase Center, all over the state. And the fundamental problem we face is borrowers can't have a meaningful discussion with their banker. And this is something that I've talked to Republicans and Democrats, conservative and liberal, Tea Party, and one percenters, 99 percenters, all across the political spectrum. You know, it's something I've talked to Rick about, to Rick Jensen, who doesn't agree with the darn thing I usually do. But he and I have talked about this a lot on his air, and something he's talked a lot about over the last many years, and I thank him for it. Because it's not a Republican or Democrat issue. Something happened to our economy, and it wasn't a natural disaster. This was a man-made disaster. This happened because people, individuals, and institutions didn't do the right thing, which drove you to form this organization 25 years ago. And it happened in a way that not just affected people's lives and the roof they had over their head or don't have over their head. It affected our economy in a fundamental way. Most economists, right or left, will tell you that any economic recovery we have has to be led by the housing market. And the foreclosure crisis is affecting that, impacting that significantly. In the last 5 years, 8.1 million people have been foreclosed upon. In the last 5 years in the state of Delaware, 25,000 people have been foreclosed upon. In 2011, over 6,000 people were foreclosed upon. About as many the year before and about as many as the year after. And what you did with us, together with, by the way, Dave Ricarian of the Bankers Association, WSFS, and in a kind of classic Delaware way, coming together, all the stakeholders. We passed a new law. And the new law says that before you can be foreclosed upon, and once the foreclosure process is commenced in our courts, you have to have a mandatory mediation, a face-to-face with your lender. Because what we found was the 1-800 hell that we sometimes all are in, whether talking to any big outfit out there, not because they're bad people, because they're big institutions who are sometimes, Ken, as you know, hard to get through to, whether it be the government or the private sector. You have to actually have an opportunity to talk to your lender. So we changed the law. 15 foreclosures a day for the last 5 years. January 19th is the day, as you know, this law became effective. 350 foreclosures were filed the week before. 350. The day before, over 100 foreclosures were filed. In the last 9-10 months since we passed that law, there's only been 136 foreclosures in the state of Delaware. Jerry, now, as I accept this work, Jerry, will you come up, please? Because you should really be getting this work. Please, I know you don't. He's got, you know, it's hard for him to get up here, but he's a serious athlete. He was a great basketball player at Williams College or Amherst. I always get it mixed up. Williams? I'm joking. That's his rival school. I know. And more than anybody in this state is my former city councilman, Jerry. You can clap, yes. And he is on the phone on a daily basis with citizens of this state, figuring out ways for them to avoid that foreclosure, which is a depression for that family and that individual. Nothing impacts you more other than, I think, the loss of a child. The senator and the congressman and I just returned from an awful tragedy in Dagsboro, at the Dagsboro Fire Hall, where a young man responding to a fire in his district lost his life. And the family not only lost their son, Justin, within the last week, they lost their only other son 8 months ago. Other than that, losing your home, there's nothing more fundamental than that. And this man right here has been on the phone with people day in and day out, working through one of the toughest moments of their lives. And so, Jerry, no baloney, our whole office deserves this, but you're the leader of our office on this issue. Thank you for doing this. Thank you all. I can't believe that he actually ran for public office, because he's there's two very modest men in public life. The two most modest men in public life are actually in this room. It's you and the congressman. I mean, he walks away and runs the other way when he's honored, and that's why I wanted to make sure that you all got to see. Many of you know him. This is a special individual, a great public servant for the state. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you.